Hello, listeners. Heidi hi. Oh, what a jam-packed episode we've got for you today. First up, we've got Mysteries from the Files of Arthur C. Clarke. He invented the communications satellite, you know. Oh, what a brain box he is. Then we'll be asking how. Fred Dinage will be showing us how to throw a pot all over the studio floor. He's a card, that man, isn't he? And then we have a piece by those lovely boys, Paul and Nick, on that 70s classic Thriller. Finally, we'll be looking at the work of our camp comics, Perry and Croft, as we look at Heidi Hi!
And now, for the young in heart and weak in the head, it's Round the Archives.
It's circus night at Maplin's holiday camp. Signorinas, signors, I now present to you my famous African alliance from Africa. You are a good little lion, and you are a very good little lion.
He's missed me again. It's him right, you know. He's give April too sweet. Just you wait till I get you back in the den.
Heidi Hi is tomorrow at 7:50 on BBC One. Back to Boxing Day now, and in 45 minutes, John Nettles stars in a special feature-length episode of Bergerac. And we stay across the channel for our next programme on One, as the accent is firmly on comedy, in a quiet little cafe in occupied France.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm Andrew.
I'm Lisa.
Welcome to episode 19?
Yes.
Of Round the Archives.
Yes, indeed. Welcome.
Hello. Any odds and ends from episode 18? Just some little ones, I think.
Yes. Apparently we have seen some episodes directed by Paddy Russell.
Of Z
Cars. I don't know how that missed me by, but they were. What were they?
Yes, we've got Loyalties, parts 1 and 2. That's got George A. Cooper in it, and oddly it's got a character in it called Jack Hargreaves, and we'll get onto that later.
Yes.
And we've also got Sins of the Father as well. But yeah, I had a feeling we had some of them. I just couldn't think.
I only ever just remember seeing sort of Vio Lorimer or Victor Vitalis or Derek Martinez's names.
Oh, well. But yes, and those are available on DVD.
On DVD, yes.
And
they are highly recommended.
Of course. Also, just the Curse of Fenric filming locations.
Oh, right, yeah.
I think we got a slightly bit garbled in it. The training camp is in Crowborough in East Sussex. The Dorset stuff is, of course, Lulworth Cove.
Yes, it's the beach
which is
stuff.
a lovely place to visit.
It is, it's very pretty.
Yes. What else do we have? The blog's been doing good business, hasn't it?
Did we have the blog last time?
We mentioned the blog. We'd only just started it, but I've been doing quite a bit on it recently. We did actually post every day up until the date of recording. Yes. And I've been doing some silly stuff about the history of Doctor Who, which is very, very strange indeed.
Yes,
it's got some weird photos.
Yes.
Oddly, that blog's been getting quite good business in Poland.
Okay.
So hello to everybody in Poland.
Yes, welcome Poland.
Thank you for reading.
Yes, thank you for your support.
Whether it makes any sense, I really don't know. I don't think it makes any sense to me some of the time, but there we go. And the podcast itself has been doing good business. We had our best month ever in January.
Okay,
and
that's good.
We had a fair bit of traffic from Tokyo.
Yes, welcome Japan.
Yeah, well, we did have Japan ages ago.
All right, welcome again, Japan.
But it seems to have
refreshed itself.
Sort of gone up the charts in Japan. Right. It'd be very interesting to find out who is actually listening. Whether you're
write in.
Yeah,
or
write
in.
Email.
Email. Well, you know what I mean. Email in. Tell us why you listen.
They don't know our email address.
We're on
Twitter us.
That's what I meant.
Yes, email.
It sounds prehistoric, honestly.
Yes, at Lisa Cartman or at Round the Archive 1, isn't it?
Yes.
I believe. Yes. Don't tend to use the Round the Archive Twitter thing very much. No. We should do it more, but there we go.
But we've got less.
But I think that's just about it, isn't it? So we will now carry on with... what should we do first? Well, you already said, didn't you?
I did.
You gave it away.
Yes.
We're going to look at the mysterious world of Arthur C. Clarke,
I don't believe a word of it.
writer and inventor of the digital lawnmower. Arthur C. Clarke's Mysterious World.
Yes. Not what I can say to that, though, really.
It's true.
Yes.
It's a series I well remember from its original transmission in 1980.
Yeah.
I also had the book,
Okay.
which was one of those books I read and read again.
Did we replace that fairly recently because it had fallen apart?
No, not quite.
right,
I will speak about that when we get to it. Now, I've still got the original hardcover
Oh, right, okay.
of that book.
Right.
But Lisa, you didn't really know the series at all, did you?
Not really, no.
No. Did you know much about Arthur C. Clarke or anything?
No.
Well,
Not much,
so
really.
seeing these has been a bit of a journey for you, hasn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
So how do we explain the series? Well, it's about mysteries, really. Scientific mysteries, I guess, is the sort of way of looking at it. And it's a 13-part series made by Yorkshire TV. And you've got obvious things like sort of UFOs and Nessie and Bigfoot and Yeti and things like that. But you've also got less obvious things, including ball lightning.
Yeah.
That's quite fun. You've got the Cern Abbas giant.
Yes.
Yeah, and Avebury stone circles. You've got various. You've got other sea monsters as well. You've got the Ogopogo.
Yes.
Which I love the name Ogopogo. It's a lake monster from Canada. And there's also a song about Ogopogo from about 1924, which is very silly, and the recording that survives is very, very poor. But I might stick a bit of Ogopogo music in the background at this point because it's just very silly. I think there's also the stones in Death Valley that move.
Yes.
There's ice falling from the sky, which is most appropriate as today there was a bit of footage on the BBC news site about a bit of ice that fell out of the sky and landed by some people near Kew, I think. That one appears to have come from an aeroplane. Right. And I think that the episode that concerns the ice is quite fun because it starts off. There's two. What are they? Sheriffs or something?
Sheriffs or whatever the equivalent is.
What are they called? One's called Butch, isn't it?
One's called Butch, and
the other one's called Potch.
Potch, yeah.
And it does sound like they should be from the Dukes of Hazzard.
Yes.
You know, Butch and Potch are in hot pursuit. But whichever one it is two, because it's two separate incidents. But whichever one it is takes this ice to be analysed up in some special laboratory somewhere. I mean, he has to catch about 2 aeroplanes to get there. He takes his ice, and then the scientist, who's got a good beard, I think. There's an awful lot of beards in this show, and we'll talk about beards later.
Beards.
Science beards and nutter beards, it has to be said.
Yeah.
He takes this to be analysed, and the bloke sort of cuts it and makes a slice, looks at it under the microscope, puts polarised light on it, looks at it in the end, and he comes to the conclusion that he has no idea where this ice came from.
It's the Barrymore School of Science.
It really is so Space 1990. Frankly, we have no idea. And the sheriff's a bit annoyed about that, I think.
He's got a long way. Just on an incidental point, my uncle had a dog called Butch.
Oh, right, okay. Was it nice?
No.
Why?
It was a bit bitey.
All right, okay. You've also got a bit of crossover with Cosmos as well, because we've talked about Cosmos many moons ago, and you've got a whole episode dedicated to the Siberian explosion in Tunguska, which is a very interesting story. You've also got You've got things like possible explanations for the Star of Bethlehem. You've got the search for the planet Vulcan, which was the alleged planet closer to the Earth than Mercury, that a couple people have claimed to have seen, but there's no evidence for it really.
No.
There's, what else was there in there? Oh, there's the Giordano Bruno crater formation on the moon, which was seen by the monks in Canterbury. That was a few years ago now.
Yes.
Look that one up. You got the Martian canals as well. So yeah, it's a good range of scientific mysteries and more weird stuff as well. Now we have to talk about the nutters, I'm afraid, and I don't wish to judge, but you do. You keep getting vox pop stuff, don't you?
Yeah, you get people popping up talking about
people who have claimed to have seen things, and I think the best one is the woman, the UFO woman.
Oh God, yeah.
Who claims that she, sitting on top of her house, was, and I will quote this, a giant Mexican hat without the bobbles.
Yeah.
I love the fact she's got that detail.
Yes.
I guess many UFOs don't have bobbles, do
No.
they? And the people inside had long golden hair, like the old kings used to wear.
Yes.
Which old kings had long golden hair then, Lisa?
Perhaps she means like Edward the Fourth or something.
Okay.
He's the only one that had blonde hair. Really.
And you've got some wonderful ooh-ah yokels in Cerne Abbas, haven't you? Now, I'm from Dorset, and I'm not, so don't knock me for having a go at yokels, because I am a yokel, and I'm very proud of that. But you've got the bloke who appears to be mostly hair, because his beard and his hair like sort of merge into one, don't they?
You can see his eyes and his nose, but it's a close run thing.
Yeah, but he's talking about the Cerne Abbas giant, and I mean it's a hill figure on I was going to say on the hill. I suppose that's where you would put a hill figure, isn't it? Yeah. But in chalk,
with a big
club in one hand and a big
protuberance
at
the front.
At the front, but you cut to this bloke. He goes, "Well, I think he is a Celtic god, and I think he's a sex symbol. No, he is a sex symbol because I look at him every morning. He does wonders for me." And you think that's really too much information, isn't it?
Thanks for that.
I love the way he says Celtic as well.
Well, not Celtic,
because the Celtic is the football team. Yes. But so does Gordon Honeycomb doing the narration.
Yeah, I think he's picked it up from the guy.
He also says Celtic as well. I mean, Gordon Honeycomb, the newsreader. I mean, he does a good job of lending a sort of air of authority to it, doesn't he?
Yes.
Even over the nutters.
Yeah.
You've got, I said, you've got weird stuff with the people who are being pelted with hazelnuts when they go near a car showroom.
I'm sorry, that's just somebody in the car showroom with some hazelnuts left from Christmas.
Chucking them out the window and ducking back down.
At the weird old people outside.
But that is fun. I mean, the show did capture, I think, for me, something about 1980 because I mean the mid-70s Nessie was quite big. I mean obviously you have Doctor Who doing it in Terror of the Zygons, but the 70s there was a fair bit of Nessie going on at the time. There's the magazine The Unexplained, which comes out in 1980, which one of those part work things that I know I got a few of them. I remember getting the first few issues. Again, never made it to the end of the sort of collection. Got about this first sort of 20 or so. And all this stuff is still around in things like the Fortean Times, isn't it? Named after Charles Fort, who catalogued a load of weird stuff, including a lot of stuff falling out of the sky. Because he wrote a number of books on that sort of subject. But the fact that it's Arthur C. Clarke's Mysterious World means that, I mean, Arthur's in every episode. He introduces it.
He does. He talks a little bit.
He does a little bit of interjections because Arthur, of course, at this point in his life, he's what do they say, in retreat in Sri Lanka.
Yes, Martha's crunching
her food. Yes. Hello, Martha. I should admit that I'm going to have to re-record the music that I use because
she's crunching the whole
Martha
way
crunched all the way through the first recording of it, so we've got to do that again. But anyway, Arthur C. Clarke he's walking along the beach a lot with his umbrella, isn't he? And occasionally getting out of the way of the waves. Mm-hmm. For the UFO one, he talks about I think when he once saw a weather balloon, and sort of becalmed, and you could easily mistake it for the planet Venus. I mean, I have to say, he says if you've never seen a UFO, you either live in a cloudy area or are unobservant. And I do agree. I do know what he means, because he's being very precise, and he says a UFO is simply something you see in the sky that you don't know what it is. And that's all a UFO is.
Not a spaceship.
Not a spaceship. It's not googly-eyed aliens. It's nothing like that.
It's just something you don't know what it is.
So, I mean, for example, I once saw, and I'm very proud of this, that I once saw the space shuttle undocking from the International Space Station.
Oh, right, okay.
So you started up with one blob of very bright light, and they separated into two as they went apart. And if you didn't know what that was, I happen to know because I'd looked it up on the internet that there was an ISS pass over that night, and you can see the ISS most nights.
Yes.
Going over. It's quite bright. I mean, we've seen it from here many times. But yeah, if you didn't know what that was, technically to you that would be a UFO. Now ask me whether I believe in alien spaceships.
Well, I think I know the answer, but do you believe in alien spaceships?
I believe there are aliens in the universe, because the universe is, I hate to say virtually infinite, but if we take the universe as being infinite, chance says there has to be life on other planets, simply because there are so many planets which are capable of supporting life, and we're starting to find very likely suspects as well, for that sort of thing. But by the same argument, because the universe is so huge, and because you've got the speed of light problem, I also believe that spaceships do not visit the Earth. The only spaceships you're ever likely to see are ones that we've built ourselves. Right. Simply because speed of light means that it takes so long to reach any other star system, even with time dilation and things like that. Yes, I know that if you got on a spaceship and went close to the speed of light, from your point of view, the journey would be a lot quicker than it was from the point of view of somebody actually on your planet. That's quite fun. But that's just physics for you. But yeah, I mean, Arthur says that, I mean, he does talk about this in some of his books as well, about other UFOs that he's seen over time. Because I've got a couple of his books, which, now what are they? Profiles of the Future, that's one. And the one that did fall apart, which was Report on Planet 3, which is and he's quite clever in that, because he's written an essay from the point of view of a Martian astronomer. In which he conclusively proves that there could never be life on Earth, because Earth's atmosphere is... There's a poisonous gas in it called oxygen, and there's this dreadful phenomenon known as fire, which is virtually unknown on Mars, but is highly destructive. And you see fires breaking out in forests on the Earth every now and then. So nothing will be able to survive on the Earth. And I quite like that, because it's like sort of blinkered science point of view that we know what's right, and nothing can. There's no knowledge that's going to come in the future that's going to contradict us. But yeah, as a series, I mean, what did you think, Lisa? Because I have to ask. Yeah. But does it make you think about things, or do you just think it's a load of nutters? Or
I think a lot of it is a load of nutters. Sorry,
but Arthur's got this wonderful thing at the end. He'll come on and just say basically he doesn't believe it. Which is fair comment. Yeah. There are later series that he does, which is like World of Strange Powers is one, and Mysterious Universe, that's in the 80s and the 90s. It's interesting that the first series, one of the researchers on it is Adam Hart Davis.
Yes.
We
love Adam Hart Davis.
Who goes on to actually produce World of Strange Powers. But yeah, I mean, we sort of know his work more on history shows, which is like, and
some science.
What the Romans and Stuarts and what have you did for us. But yeah, that's quite nice to sort of see his name popping up so early. But yeah, it's available on DVD, and there's certain episodes that I go back to time again. I
do come up on sometimes, and you're watching the one with the woman with the Mexican hat.
Yeah, okay, but the 13 episodes. I say some of them I rewatch quite a lot. Even when we've gone through them, I've sort of missed out a few because I've not gone back to the one about the Bigfoot and things like that. Because frankly, and now we'll move on to the sort of second thing we need to talk about in this article, the Goodies episode Bigfoot, which, the Goodies had a great thing of capturing what was sort of quite popular at the time, and they turned their attention to Arthur C. Clarke with their ITV series with the episode Bigfoot. It's always interesting that the way the Goodies episodes are structured, and that the first half I think is written by Graham Garden, and the second half I think is written by Bill Oddie because of the way the plot works. Because the first half of it, you've got Graham doing what has to be said quite a good impression of Arthur C. Clarke.
I mean, his accent, because I still can't place what Arthur C. Clarke's accent was.
Well, he was born in Somerset.
Yes.
But
it's not a Somerset accent.
It's not terribly you are. But yeah, I know he spent time in America.
Because there's a little bit of a twang there, an American twang.
Yeah, but yeah, he was actually born. Where is it? Minehead, was it? I think so.
I think you said Minehead.
I think I said Minehead. Yes, Minehead. That's right. And he sort of grew up on a farm. He liked stargazing, fossil collection, and reading science fiction. Okay. So I can't argue with any of that, really.
So, but yes, we were saying Graham Garden does a bit more of a noir. His accent's a little bit more.
What exactly is the significance of the object found? Something like that. But it's a good example of how when the Goodies moved to ITV, I think ITV didn't realise how expensive the Goodies was going to be, because at the BBC you had all the BBC special effects personnel and things like that. When you move to ITV, there's no department like that to do it all. So they've got to build things like spaceships, a crystal skull that lights up, because there's the crystal skull used in the title sequence for Arthur C. Clarke. They've got to build a giant sort of Nessie monster, haven't they? Like looks over Graham's shoulder. But the whole point about this show is that Arthur C. Clarke doesn't really exist. No,
Graham's made it up.
Graham, it's just Graham in a wig and some glasses. You get this brilliant thing where the Yeti sort of keeps on popping out from behind some rocks, and Tim and Bill are shouting, "Arthur, he's behind you!"
And then he turns around or goes back, and
he's not there.
Yes.
Then the second half of the episode is more concerned with Bigfoot and the origin of it, and I don't want to spoil it too much because it's a great episode. It's worth seeing. But again, the detail they've put into it, because whenever you'd go somewhere in the Arthur C. Clarke series, you'd get a little yellow sort of stripe
across the sort of top left-hand corner,
top bit of the corner,
to say where you were,
top bit of the picture. Because I'm very pleased that at one point when they're talking about sort of standing stones, they've got some helicopter footage of Knowlton Church, which is where I grew up. Just a few yards away from Knowlton Church. It's a ruined church in the middle of a henge, and a henge, I have to say, is just the earthworks. A henge is not necessarily standing stones or anything like that. But it's one of those places where there's a lot of sort of folklore and stuff associated with it. But having lived there for sort of 5 or 6 years, I didn't pick up any vibrations or anything like that, I'm afraid. So no ghosts or nothing. So to me, it was just where I grew up. But yeah, they seem to have... I don't know where they got the footage from, whether they did take a helicopter there just to do this helicopter shot.
Very expensive.
I know, but unless it was a bit of library footage, but I can't work out where it is.
Yeah, footage.
But but in the Goodies, they pull this off very well. I think the sort of recreation of it, and it's just nice to have both things on DVD so that you can compare them. And Graham's a scientist anyway, so he's got that thing about he knows where Arthur's coming from. I think with a lot of this, I mean, Warren sent us some info from Gordon Honeycomb's book, where he said that the goodies sort of got onto him to do a voiceover for that episode. And he said Arthur would have loved to have voiced the bit where Graham says, "Frankly, I don't believe a word of it."
Yeah.
So I think that's lovely that he has got that sense of humour about it. But there we go. So worth a look, I think.
Yes, it is interesting, and it's very much of its time.
Yeah, that's the thing. Again, it's 1980 in a nutshell, isn't it? For all the weird stuff, it does capture something that was in the air at the time, I think. So, but yeah, it's a fun little thing, and it might make you want to sort of look up some of the more interesting sciencey things as well, because some of the astronomy stuff I really do like.
Yeah, it's interesting.
It's worth a look. Oh, there you go then.
Okay.
Wasn't too mysterious, was it?
No.
No? Did you believe a word of it?
No.
Oh. Never mind.
Next week, the things that can fall from the sky.
Welcome back.
Yes.
Hello.
Hello.
I did the slip of the tongue in that.
Did you?
I said about the planet Vulcan, and I said it was meant to be closer to the Earth than Mercury, and of course I meant to say closer to the Sun than Mercury.
Okay. Never mind.
Never mind. Oh well. Yes. Now, what else do we have? Well, you've sort of given it all away, haven't you, in the introduction? So I don't know why I keep trying to build this air of tension.
No, don't build tension, because I've blown the tension.
Yeah. So we've got young Mr. Warren, who I had on the sofa.
You did.
And he also did us an article about how at the same time.
He did.
You were at work, so you didn't know. That'll make him spit his tea out.
It will. Sorry, Warren.
Yes. So yes, here's me and young Warren talking about how.
Right, 30 seconds. No, 25 seconds. The ident. This is VCR number 2732. This is how, and it's part 2, take 1.
Hello, Warren.
Hello, Andrew.
How? Indeed. Oh, you can do the music. Well done. More than Fred Downage can do.
He knows how to suck an egg.
He does. He's very good at sucking and blowing. We'll get onto that later, I think.
Moving on.
But we've been watching How. Now, explain to the good listeners what How is, could you?
It's a educational.
Yes.
Entertainment.
Well, I certainly learned a thing or two.
I learned a few things too. Whether they were the right things, I don't know. It was designed as a children's programme, but not initially in its conception, was it? No.
According to Wikipedia, which is not always the best source, it was originally designed by Mr. Jack Hargreaves.
Yep.
For adults returning from the pub.
So lubricated adults.
Because the pilot episode was broadcast at 11:15 at night.
Crikey.
But then they decided maybe it would be better as a kids' show. I'm just trying to imagine, given some of the stuff that's on the actual kids' version of it.
Yeah.
With like Jack smoking his pipe and all that stuff. I'm trying to imagine what the adult version of it
playing with deadly snakes
was like. But do you remember watching it as a kid? I
have faint glimmers now.
You have faint glimmers?
Faint glimmers.
That's good.
I have faint glimmers. That's some cream for that.
But I'm sure you remember Jack Hargreaves on there.
I remember Jack.
And
Jack had the the eternal flame burning in his pipe.
Yes, smoking away. Fred Dinage, of course. The legend that is Fred Dinage.
Day by Day, World of Sport, Coast to Coast.
Yes.
And now Meridian.
And the sort of science end of it was John Miller.
Yeah.
And
I know nothing. I do not know anything about John Miller.
Oh, shall we have a look in a minute? Then you've got Bunty James.
Yeah, Bunty.
And Marion Davies, who later replaces her. John Miller was born in Southend.
Okay.
And is a cousin of Yehudi Menuhin.
Oh, the violentillist.
The violentillist.
Violentillist. I'm sorry. Can somebody bring my teeth in, please?
But yes, he was spotted by Jack Hargreaves on an April
shot at
an April Fool's Day edition of Three Go Round, which was the children's magazine program.
Okay.
Demonstrating how beetle wigs were made from the hairs of beetles' legs, and he was recruited to do some chemistry experiments, and usually it was things that blew up. What was that?
I'm reading this. In his retirement, Miller was a frequent letter writer to newspapers and magazines, answering the question as to why roosters crow in the morning in 1998. In the New Scientist.
Okay, fair enough. Well, we're back to cock crowing in the morning.
Back to cocks again, yeah.
Yes. But yes, back to the show. We've watched 2 editions and a few odds and ends.
It's great fun, isn't it?
And it packs an awful lot into 22 minutes or so, doesn't it?
The attention, it does hold that attention, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I think because each demonstrator,
item
and demonstrator has a different style. Fred is obviously the comic relief.
Well, Fred,
not intentionally sometimes.
It strikes me he's doing a bit of a John Noakes, isn't he? Because the ones we've watched, he's trying to throw a pot, and that just ends in total disaster. And you can hear everybody laughing in the studio.
It's the Generation Game moment, isn't it?
Yeah, he's got a half-completed one, and somebody's put a lot of work into that. He destroys it within 3 seconds.
It.
But because it's a local show, it's nice to see a few credits for things like Pool Pottery and Pool Aquarium as well.
Which just recently closed this year, the Pottery, didn't
that's
it?
right.
Yeah.
So again, this is now starting to be historical interest, really, isn't it?
I'm sorry, all I can... Well, it has a line... It's a desk, isn't it? It's a horseshoe desk.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all sat around the horseshoe desk, except for Jack, who's plodded on the end in the smoking compartment.
The smoking zone.
Because all he ever seems to do is fill his pipe and light it, isn't it, on a children's programme, and puff away.
Well, one of the editions we saw, he was trying to weigh...
Smoke.
Tobacco ash after it had been smoked, so he had about 4 pipes there, and he was hooking them out, and he gets his scales out, as you say, that he's nicked from the sweet shop, and then weighs it, but it's in grams, and he doesn't understand grams. He only does ounces.
Oh dear.
But yes, I mean, then
there's the legendary, your favourite, in the bottle.
Oh, the ship in the bottle.
Yes,
and he has a bit of trouble with his book, doesn't he? Because he's trying. What does he say? He's got a bit of paper in there.
He's got a bit of amateur paper
to find the page he wants to look at, and then he wants to find another page, but he's not got a bit of paper and he can't find it. And he goes, "Oh, we'll settle for that one."
If you look at the bit of paper, it's actually doubled over, so the folder piece is actually in the second set of pages that he wants. But as he's ripped it out and thrown it away.
All right.
But he's the true consummate professional. He keeps going.
Yes. I mean, later on...
One take Jack.
Yeah. Later on, he gets to do some music, doesn't he? Because they're doing some, like, African drumming or something. And Fred's on the sort of bongo thing. And Jack comes in
and they're all into it, aren't
and
they?
bangs a couple of sticks together.
Yeah. And they drop the lights, don't they? They give it the sunset shot.
But, I mean, as you said, it seems to be virtually recorded as live. So things do go wrong.
A lot.
Mostly for Fred.
And
because he gets water everywhere when he's trying to demonstrate how to hold a glass of water upside down and not spill it.
John is clearly the one who's not very good with animals.
Oh,
or reptiles.
Yeah, they get a snake out at one point, and does it bite the handler? You can't actually tell because it's
Oh, there's a strike. There's a strike.
There's
he goes. There's another strike.
And then he's got to see an enemy later on, which
won't eat anything.
Which is just totally cannot be bothered to do anything.
There's a dead fish with teeth that he sat on at some point.
Oh yes, but yes, it's all very silly. But you said the amateurism of it is really quite appealing, isn't it?
It's so refreshing.
And you wouldn't be allowed to get away with something that shambolic these
it was
days.
Shambolic. And it does go back to coming out the pub. Let's have a good bit of fun after a few beers. Let's get a couple of snakes and slide them across poisonous snakes and slide them across some glass. No, it is very shambolic, but that's the beauty of it, isn't it?
Now, can we talk about the innuendo?
Oh God, no.
Because
it does come up now and again.
Well, there's the old thing about Simon Groom on Blue Peter
and the knockers,
a beautiful pair of knockers.
Yeah,
but yeah, some of this we were just absolutely killing ourselves, weren't we?
Was it one episode? Oh, Bunty
James
decides she's going to put her
initials, which just happened to be BJ. Yeah.
And I'm gonna raise a BJ for you here, Bunty. Goes Fred.
But yeah, I mean, then Fred Dinage is sucking eggs and debating whether to swallow or not.
What was his classic line?
What if you have to swallow? It makes you feel strong or something.
And then someone's having a Brazilian.
Oh yes, that's right. Yes, it was a Brazilian coffee, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
But dearie me, it's not just our dirty minds.
It's not, is it? No.
They are definitely doing this on purpose. But it's a lovely format for a show, isn't it? Really,
it is. It's effortless as well, isn't it? Because everybody's having fun.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at the listings for it, and it ran from 1966 to 1981.
Yeah,
17 series of it and 250 episodes, of which virtually everything is missing.
So it's 10 years short of the entire lifespan of Southern television.
It's a real backbone of Southern sort of schedules, isn't it? I mean, you look at this listing, and it's just such a shame that there's so little of it that we can see now. And
we were looking at the transmission dates, weren't we? It's quite interesting because some of it is during the school holidays. When if we look at 76, A Long Hot Summer, what have we got? Well, we've got that in December and March, but prior to that, in 73 and 74.
Yeah, the 72 series runs from June to August. 73 series runs into June, so does the 74 series.
You're broadcasting at a time where children perhaps wouldn't have been watching the television that much.
1980 is June to September, so that's right over the sort of... I mean, it was 6 weeks you used to get off of school, didn't you? It seemed to fly by, but never felt like 6 weeks.
But the popularity of it has kept it going, hasn't it?
But yeah, we did see the last 2 minutes of it, and that was a very nice little tribute to the production team, because you've got to see everybody.
It's such a tiny studio as well, isn't it?
I mean,
you pull back and see the group of everyone.
There's 4 people in front of the camera, but about 34 people actually behind the camera, or... Because you see the cameraman, you see the floor assistant, you see the set designer, you see the sound crew, you get everybody on there, and that was really nice to end the show like that.
It's quintessentially British.
Yes.
I don't think it would work anywhere because of the style and the amateurism of it to a certain extent. Because it is like amateur dramatics in front of the television.
Yeah.
Everybody has a different presenter point of view. They all have a different sense of humour as well, which helps as well.
I mean, Jack Hargreaves just sits there and is very, very dry.
Yeah, he's very, yes.
Fred is playing a bit more the sort of clown.
He is jester, isn't he?
But yeah, it's just interesting. We found about 4 or 5 episodes knocking around on YouTube. I do vaguely remember seeing some of the clips occasionally on things, but I'd love to get just one disc of what does remain. Because some of these copies are fairly dire. And the one-man band was quite fun, although the tape seems to be suffering from some sound problems on it.
Fred playing the spoons.
Yeah, Fred playing the spoons on his mouth.
Yes.
Yeah, that could have ended badly. There's another one with him on a tightrope, It's thankfully it's only about 1 foot off the ground, but
he launches himself
on the lady. Yes, but that
frisky Fred,
if you say so. But yeah, it's a lovely show, and I think I'd recommend just sort of having a look for it.
Yeah, it's not heavy going.
No.
But it's still educational.
That's the thing. I mean, we did have the you went, oh Lord, it's the Trilogic game,
yes,
didn't we?
Yes.
Which is from the Celestial Toymaker, moving the discs from one pole to another, and who is it demonstrating? Jack, isn't it? Jack demonstrates it and gets his calculator out at one point.
Does this long calculation. And then gives this 300 and whatever it was moves. 55.
It's 256. And then he has to do minus one.
And he does it on the calculator.
255. But yeah, it's one of those big 70s calculators as well. Lovely.
The lights were dimming in the studio as he was
probably
using
worth
the power.
money now, that thing. But yeah, I'd say have a nose around on YouTube.
It's well worth it.
Yes. We should point out there is the revival series from TBS, How To, which is
didn't know this. No.
Yes, that's a later series.
Mm-hmm.
That's from 1990.
Crikey.
Oh, hello! Somebody's just put something through the door. How? And that ran from 1990 all the way up to 2006.
So the programme's got longevity.
So proving that format, could be done again. Frankly, that was Fred Dinage, Gareth Jones, Carol Vorderman, Sian Lloyd, Gail Porter, and Gail McKenna.
Good
presenting
Lord.
that, and again that's 198 episodes. So the complete How, if you include them as one series, is
Porter Cabin Television.
Is from Porter Cabin TV. Is something like nearly 450 episodes.
Yeah,
and that's an awful lot of material to cover.
Absolutely.
But yes, but there you go. How, and we'll do it again, shall we? How. Thank you, Mr. Warren.
Yes, thank you, Warren. That's a really lovely article.
Yeah, of course.
Yes.
Now, the only bit of tension I think we can build in this whole episode...
It's the way the format has to work.
I know. Is what came through the door when we were recording the How article.
And what came through the door?
It was 2 cards, and I've saved them, and one was for local cleaners and ironers.
Okay.
£12.95 per hour. Ask for Janet or Peter. Okay. And the other one was free carpet cleaning.
Okay.
That sounds good.
It does.
Asterisk. When paying for lounge, get 2 areas free.
Well, it's not free then,
It's not really free, is it?
And it's like pay for one bit, get another bit for nothing.
Yes, never mind. Oh well, not very exciting.
No.
We also mentioned Porter Cabin TV in passing.
You did.
And I guess not everyone will know what that reference is about. On the when Southern TV lost their license to TBS, they had a bit of a sort of shindig.
Yeah, sort of leaving party
thing.
Almost, didn't they?
And Richard Stilgo wrote a song about Porter Cabin TV, which is what everyone was referring to TBS as they'd set up a load of porter cabins in Southern TV's car park.
Yes.
And
very professional.
And he does actually reference How in the song.
Okay.
So we'll have a little bit of the song, and then we'll go straight into another article, which is about Thriller.
Yes.
And that's done by Paul and Nick.
Yes.
So we'll look forward to hearing that as well. And then we'll come back, and then you've got something, haven't you?
I have.
Okay. See you all soon then.
Okay.
We are Porter Cabin TV, and we promise we will change everything so that all is new and vital. The show to alter most will be our nightly coast to coast, which is really day by day with a new title. We are Porter Cabin TV, and we're dropping lots of shows. I'm afraid to how we all must say goodbye, because we don't know how, but we do know when. It's now, and what people want to know is not how, but why. We are Porter Cabin TV, and all that's going to change is the local television station's name. We would change things if we could, but Southern was so good. We've decided to leave everything the same.
Hello, Andrew and Lisa. It's me, Paul, sometimes known as Shy Yeti, and it's Nick.
Hello.
Hello, yes. We're going to be discussing the TV show Thriller today. We're not going to do a series review. There's too many episodes. It's beyond me at the moment to be able to sort of do a good sort of background on the series, because what we can say is that it was one of Brian Clemens' projects, probably one of the first ones he did after the Avengers and before the new Avengers.
Also, as you say, we won't go into a season overview, but my one memory of this series is going to bed late-ish on a Saturday night in the 70s and knowing this was on, and there was a reveal at the end, kind of like, so it was this and that, and I remember them finding a body in the cupboard and not freaking out by that, but sort of being a little bit unnerved by it. But it's I've not seen an episode since, but it really looks like my cup of tea, and you can't really go wrong with a bit of Brian.
As Nick says, he's not seen it for years, or seen hardly any of it. I've pretty much watched every episode of the 6 seasons. I think it's 6 seasons. It's a sort of 2 box set. About there were a lot of episodes, but what I have done is picked one of the 2 box sets, brought it along, and what we're going to be doing is that Nick has chosen an episode. We're going to do what we've done before, where we kind of pause a couple of times, see how we think it's going, whether we're enjoying it, and then I'm also going to choose one, and we're going to do the same with that. So we're going to review 2 episodes quite randomly, and the first one, Nick?
The first one is The Crazy Kill, and I see it's got a very young Denham Elliott, but it's also got what sort of stood out for me was Anthony Valentine. He's one of my favourite actors.
Yes.
And he's always good in sort of thriller things like Karen and Raffles. So
I didn't see quite what date it was from on the bottom.
I think it's 19. That's right. May 75.
So yeah, it's one of the latest. One of the latest seasons.
Potentially, I'd be ironic if this was. This has the memory I've got of the show in it. So.
But yeah, this is one of the later seasons. Okie dokie. I haven't selected mine yet, but yes, we're going to be reviewing The Crazy Kill.
The Crazy Kill. Here we go. Let's go crazy, folks.
So we've watched the first.
We have indeed.
15 minutes or so. We're breaking at the advert break.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts?
Oh, loving it so far. I mean, you can't go far wrong. There's a tick list here of all the things I like. There's a 70s TV, good actors in it, and you've got a super cast to work with. Brian Clemens knows how to put together a story, and it's top-notch stuff. And I can see myself watching quite a few of these, actually. Anthony Valentine's splendidly chilling as...
We should probably just give a sort of brief synopsis. It's about a doctor and his wife who was taken hostage in their house by 2 escaped prisoners, I guess. One of them being Anthony Valentine. And yeah, the story's only just really beginning. The police seem to be aware that somebody's on the run and they're looking for them, but There's also another lady who's being driven to the house, unaware of what's happening at the house. So that's obviously going to...
There's some very sound building blocks of a story. Yeah, it's really good.
I do recall this one. It's one of the ones that's stuck in my head, and I think I do remember quite a good twist coming up, but which we'll probably not be able to reveal. But we'll see how it goes.
I mean, what's quite nice is I'd say Anthony Valentine, one of my favourite actors. So I thought, we'll love some of it. John Marino, who was in Moonbase 3 and played an secret agent in For Your Eyes Only and Ambassadors of Death, Doctor Who. Dennis Chinnery, fresh from Genesis of the Daleks in, again, Doctor Who. The guy playing the Inspector looks very, very, very familiar, and I haven't quite placed him yet. There's Robert Lindsay playing just a couple of years before he did Citizen Smith, but playing a cheeky copper, which was quite fun to see. And Denham Elliott in the most 70s top imaginable.
Very big collars.
Very big collars, It's cracking good stuff, and I'm enjoying it.
I do remember this. I was interested to see. Well, what I was going to say, one of the things I noticed was that considering most filler episodes are filmed in a set, they don't have much outside broadcasting, but there is quite a lot of OB work in this so far, which is a little bit unusual. I can't think of many episodes where there's that much outside.
No, it's the other thing is I love the pace and structure of telly in those days. People say, it's slow. It's better paced because you do move on and you do it's great. It's cranking it up very nicely indeed.
Well, we shall watch the next segment and report back at the end of part 2.
Indeed.
So we've reached the end of part 2.
Yes.
Any more thoughts?
It's still very exciting. I say it was some very experienced, good writing, and some very good performances from top-notch actors. Keeping on the edge of the seat all the time. And keeping you guessing. And there are little things happening all the time that make you think, the policemen were found dead. You think, right, I wonder who did that. There's somebody else on the loose, and the inspector is not a well man, and you think, I wonder if that'll play. Also of note, one of the policemen is Mark Wynne Davey, who went on to play Seyfried Beeblebrox in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. But no, it's superb stuff.
I also detected a few accents.
Yeah, well, yeah. Yeah, but Anthony Valentine using a few of the Mockney tones, and sort of nerdy tones he used in his disguises in Raffles. But no, he's super when he says he's going to kill you, you believe him. He's absolutely superb at those sort of parts. It's great. No, it's great stuff and very well written characters. It's good stuff.
Well, you're enjoying it.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy that? We have to be careful not to give away the double twist, but there is a double twist.
Yes, very satisfying it was too. No, excellent cast, super script from Dennis Spooner. What do you expect? He's terrific, and it's just end-to-end class. It's a really enjoyable story. It's difficult to say too much without giving the game away, but I'm looking forward to seeing some more thrillers because they've been. I had a feeling they would be my kind of gig.
Yeah.
But it's good. It's good. It keeps you on your toes. I like that.
Yeah. That was a good one. I definitely remember enjoying that one the first time I saw it. But
Elliot's great because the kind of parts he plays, he always plays the downtrodden neurotic and kind of he keeps you guessing right to the end in this. He was an excellent actor.
Well, next up there'll be my choice, but
yes, do you know what your choice is yet?
No, I shall make that decision and we will return imminently. Well, we've moved on to the second of our 2 thriller episodes. This is my pick, and
The Screamer.
The Screamer, yeah. It's also from 1975, although I think it's probably from an earlier season. It's very early 1975, so probably made in 74. I didn't pick it because it was a particular favourite, but I kind of went for it because it was sort of a bit of a stalkery type one, from what I could tell from the... I've seen it before, but can't remember anything about what happens. But any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, again, the building blocks are there. Very skillfully done. Tense direction. Jim Norton playing the suspicious man. He's been a dubious personage in many things. I've got him in a Vanderbilt somewhere. Similarly, and he actually, yes, come to think of it, last summer I saw him in something that was about 5 years old, where he played Stan Laurel. Very well too. Rather pretty lady with a very wide collar. Lovely moody location at the station.
Yes.
The location works very impressive on this one.
Yes. Yeah. Although I think the train was probably studio.
Oh,
I can imagine.
The train's definitely studio.
I can imagine them wobbling the set a bit.
Yeah. But with and Derek Smith, who's a reliable old pro, playing the inspector this time. He was the drug dealer, Lake 7 episode Shadow, and he was also in King of the Castle.
So far, the main lady has been travelling to see friends in the country where there have been attacks on ladies, and she thinks she's being picked up at the station, but they don't show up. So she walks to the house and is followed, and then is apparently attacked by the person following her, who she met earlier on the train. At least that's what we presume happens, but we don't know yet. Anyway,
as if
we shall
top-notch stuff.
We shall watch some more.
The rest of it.
Yeah, we'll watch on and report back. So we've watched straight through to the end.
Yeah.
What did you think of that one?
Oh, it's very, very good. The nice twists and keep you guessing, and
the psychological.
Psychological. I like that. That's probably my favourite sort of.
It's one of those ones where you're not sure whether the person is seeing what she thinks she's seeing, and she thinks she's being stalked. Is she being stalked?
Yeah, it was certainly up to the standard of the first one.
Yeah, they're both good in their own way, really.
Yeah, lots of reliable actors. Again, some very good cast.
You were saying that it was directed by
Sean O'Riordan, who I think might have even produced and certainly directed a number of episodes of Sapphire and Steel.
Yeah.
So he and HTV, ATV. So he would have been on their staff presumably, because of course ATV was Sapphire and Steel.
Yeah, I think and Larry Johnson does the theme music, but I think there's also quite a lot of music from the Avengers, probably also composed.
I really like the incidental music. I think it's it's sort of like a little bit like Dudley Simpson, the sort of subtle kind of creeping saxophones and things like that. That's great.
The ending was darker, perhaps you could say.
Yeah, I think it probably was actually. Yeah, and for any Doctor Who aficionados, Wolfe Morris, who was Pablo Samnavar in the main llama in the Abominable Snowman, the first Yeti story, and also Cardinal Wolsey in 6 Wives of Henry VIII, brother of Aubrey Morris, who basically rent a weirdo in just about everything you can imagine.
And the main actress was Pamela Franklin.
I know that name somewhere. Very pretty gal.
Well,
Pamela Franklin.
I can tell you what she was. She was. She now. Well, when Wikipedia when this Wikipedia entry was written, she and her husband, along with one of her sons, co-owns the bookstore Mystery Pier Books Incorporated in West Hollywood. But she is actually, although she played American, she is English.
What else has she been in?
Well, The Innocents, The Lion, The Horse Without a Head, Flipper's New Adventure. These were in the 60s. See How They Run, A Tiger Walks, The Third Secret, Eagle in a Cage, The Nanny. I think that might be the Hammer film, The Nanny, possibly. Quick Before They Catch Us, Our Mother's House, The Night of the Following Day, David Copperfield, 69, The Prime of Miss Jean Brodie, 69, Sinful Davy, an episode of Strange Report, series called Medical Centre, American series, The Name of the Game, and Soon the Darkness, which is the Brian Clemens Thriller that I lent you, we watched together.
Oh, yeah.
Something called Green Acres. She was in a couple of episodes of the detective show Cannon, again showing that she was in America by 70s. She did something called Necromancy. She was in a couple of episodes, just one episode of Bonanza, Ace, Eli and Roger of the Skies, Circle of Fear, I think that was an anthology show, Intertect, Legend of Hell House, The Letters, Satan's School for Girls, 1973, Love Story episode. She was in an episode of Streets of San Francisco.
I remember Love Story. So she did work prolifically across the pond.
Yeah, $6 Million Man. She did an episode of that. Mannix, that was a detective show. Barnaby Jones, Crossfire, Insight. 2 episodes.
How old is she?
I'll tell you in a sec. She stopped acting in 81. She's in another episode of Thriller. The Food of the Gods, Eleanor and Franklin. Episode of Hawaii Five-0. How old is she? She's 67. She was born in 1950 in Japan.
Oh, right.
But she is considered a British actress who appeared in feature films from 61 to 76 and on American television throughout the 70s. She has
very distinctive. 2
children born in the 70s, so she probably stopped acting when she had the kids. Her husband is called Harvey Jason.
All right.
Who is also an English actor, but I don't know. Much. Anyway, so that was Screamer. That was our second episode of Thriller. So,
excellent.
Hopefully, Andrew and Lisa, we've done our duty, and what a fun duty it was. Yes. And maybe we'll do another duo of Thriller another time for you.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Okay. Goodbye, Lisa and Andrew. Goodbye. Goodbye, Martha. Goodbye, Rose. Goodbye, Yellow Brick Road.
Goodbye, Mr. Chips.
Goodbye, Mr. Chips.
Thank you very much to Mr. Nick and Mr. Paul for that.
Yes, thank you, boys. Another good article.
And in fact, you went and bought the whole of Thriller.
Yes, on the strength
after
of that
listening to that article, didn't you? Because it's not a series we know, really.
No, and I don't even really like sort of scary.
We like Tales of the Unexpected, don't you?
That's I suppose it's similar to that, isn't it?
So, we'll have to watch and see.
We will.
And now over to you, really.
Yes, over to me.
As you do the final article of this episode.
Yes.
Which is Heidi High.
Hello, campers. I've got a very important announcement to make, but I'm not going to tell you what it is. Mr. Fairbrother is here to do it with me. It's just like the adverts, see, pretend you're on telly.
Ah, yes.
Tell them what's happening.
Yes. I'm here to tell you about a new winter holiday offer, a sort of winter break, to take your mind off the cold and the Christmas shopping and stuffing the turkey. So come to Maplin's instead. Be the special offer. It's new and it's improved. Well, it's new, and it's at a different time.
Tell them when.
Sunday.
7:15 BBC One.
Oh yes, 7:15 BBC One, Sunday, and it's all new.
Well, that's it then. Heidi High.
Ho.
And Ruth Maddock is the guest on Breakfast Time tomorrow morning from 6:30 on BBC One. This evening on Radio 2 in 10 minutes, there's a European soccer special with coverage of the first leg of the third round of the UEFA Cup between Nottingham Forest and Celtic. On BBC One now, part 3 of our drama serial Spy Ship.
Well, if you're feeling lonely and thinking in a stew, just bend your ear, come over here, and man, here's what you do. If you got the blues, I got some news. Join in the fun and you blow straight to the holiday rock. Holly, holly, hi, hi, holiday rock. Howdy, howdy, hi, holly, holly, ho. Go, go, go to the holiday rock. Howdy, howdy, hi, holly, holly, ho. Go, go, go to the holiday rock.
So, Lisa.
Yes.
Heidi hi.
Hody ho.
Oh, I knew you were going to do that.
That's obvious, isn't it?
We've been doing the joke all the way through the episode.
Yes.
Right. Why did you want to talk about Heidi High on this episode?
Because, by Rose. Rose was sitting on my lap, but she just got off. Because I think it's another great ensemble piece.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody gets something to do. If not in every episode, then they'll get an episode based around their character.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of those things, it's fun to watch, it cheers you up, and it looks sunny, but it was probably freezing because they were usually filming in October.
Yes.
Occasionally in the spring, but mostly in October. And yeah, it's just fun, and all the characters are apart from the ones that aren't meant to be likeable, but all the characters, there's usually something to like about them.
Okay.
So yeah, that's why.
But tell us what the actual setup is. What's the sit here? Because it's a sitcom, but what is the sit?
The sit is it's a holiday camp.
Mm-hmm.
We still have them to this day, and they still have red coats and blue coats and things. And people go there for a week, and you are entertained, and you have your meals there. And I mean, personally, to me, it sounds like a nightmare because I wouldn't want to go to a holiday camp and get involved.
The trouble
in
is,
things.
you see, I've taken you to hotels with
you have.
with en suites.
En suites,
yes. That's posh, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously these days you get a bathroom in the where you stay.
Yeah.
In 1959,
which is when this is
set. It's a basic chalet. And if you want to go to the loo, you have to go to the toilet block, or you have to go to the shower block.
Not communal, really, but it is a block, isn't it?
It's a block,
a special place.
Yes. So, and there's a gentleman and a lady, so they don't have to share, at least, but yeah.
Well, that might make it more fun.
It might, yeah. And the basic idea is that there's a Cambridge University professor.
Who is?
Geoffrey Fairbrother,
played by
Simon Cadell,
and played very
well by Simon Cadell. And I should just say, before we go any further, I had I think he was a geography teacher called Mr. Fairbrother.
All right, did he get the P taken out of him?
I don't remember, but I always imagined. I don't think his name was Geoffrey, but in my head he was called Geoffrey Fairbrother.
Because Heidi High is 80s, isn't
it? It's 80s, yes. It was contemporary from when I was at
because it runs. I mean, the pilot episode is 1980, isn't it? And then it runs up to what, 1988?
88. Yes.
Is the final?
I think it's 79, isn't it? Oh no, 79.
The pilot's 1st of January 1980.
Yeah, so it's made in 79.
Series 1 is February 1981.
Yeah.
And then it runs all the way through to the final episode, which
was 30 years ago last month.
The Wind of Change is January 1988.
Yeah, so 30 years ago last month.
Ah, right.
Which is another reason to celebrate it.
Fair enough.
So, but yeah, so the central character is Geoffrey Fairbrother.
And he is
a professor of archaeology.
But why is he an entertainment manager?
I don't know. That's obviously because that gives you scope to have different characters.
But he wants to do something different.
He does.
He's fed
up with being in a stuffy world of academics. So he wants to go out and experience the real world and meet real people, which he does.
Yes.
But he's totally a fish out of water.
Yeah, but that's where a lot of the comedy is, isn't it?
A lot of the comedy comes from the fact that he's floundering around with not an idea of what he's doing, really. And most of the time, Paul Shane's character, Ted Bovis, who is the camp host, who is the person that comes on and introduces stuff and does the games and does a slot in the evening in the Hawaiian ballroom.
He's a bit
he
dodgy,
rescues
though.
him. He's
Ted,
slightly
isn't
dodgy,
it?
yeah. He does a lot of fiddles.
He's got various scams
But then
to make money.
It seems that most of the Yellowcoats are doing one scam or another. You know, Gladys sells tennis balls. The
Yvonne and Barry Stewart Hargreaves
sell shoes. So they're all at it. I should say Gladys is Gladys Pugh. She's the chief Yellowcoat.
She's Jeffrey's right-hand man.
And she's Jeffrey's right-hand man, and she adores him.
Yes. Does he notice that ever?
Yeah, I think he does. He's a bit scared by it, I think. But
I
he doesn't reciprocate.
I love the scene in one of the episodes we saw where he's got his trousers in his hand. And Gladys comes in, and it's just a lovely little bit of subtle detail that he's got the trousers in his hand. He's in,
and they're in front of his legs.
He's not got his trousers on.
No, he's actually holding them physically. He was just about to put them on.
And then he just does up the zip.
He does the zip up, yeah.
And he's very, very good at that detail, little bits of detail, isn't he?
I mean, he was a Shakespearean actor, Simon Cadell. It's amazing they got him.
As a Nazi,
before he did this, he was known as, and we still haven't watched any of the series, and really must. He was in Enemy at the Door.
Yes.
And he was a Gestapo Nazi. And not a Gestapo
Nazi as opposed to all the other ones.
And not very nice, and he used to get hit in the street, and then he did this, and he said it was quite nice because people used to come up to him and say hi-de hi. And be nicer to him. So, yeah, I mean, sadly he died a few years ago.
I can imagine him being very icy, though. Because as you said, we've not watched it, but it's on the list of things.
It's on the pile. It's just we didn't get round to it. So, but yeah, he's very good, and he does up to, I think he does the first 5 series. Is it?
Let's have a look.
Series 6 onwards, it's a different character.
So Together Again is series 6,
and the series loses a lot
when he leaves the note that he's left. Basically,
and you
get
1984. You get a different entertainments manager who works well in his own way.
Who is
Clive, the Honourable Clive Dempster, DFC, played by David Griffin.
Well, he's interesting as well because his family again. Very opposed to him being in this position,
and very opposed to him because he eventually, this is not a spoiler alert because it is over 30 years ago, when he eventually gets engaged to Gladys, they're very against the idea of her as their daughter-in-law, and they try and stop the wedding, and
But is it true to say there's an air of tattiness about all this?
Yes. What you have to understand, with all the best will in the world, is that all these characters are failures.
Yeah.
In fact, the most successful one is Jeffrey, because he goes off to be a professor in Wisconsin and of archaeology. So he goes and does something with his life.
Yeah.
But his personal life is a failure because he's divorced and he's not very good with women. So, although he's got academic success in his personal life, if he'd stayed in the camp, Gladys would have probably married him and he would have been happy. But obviously.
But that's not to look down on the characters, is it?
Because what they do at the camp is very successful. They make people happy.
Because what's the one with John LeMessurier?
Carnival Time. That's series 2, is it? Series 2? Series 3?
Series 3, Series 3, Carnival Time.
Yeah, and he's the dean of the college. And he goes to the camp to try and persuade him to go back to the college.
Because he's offering him the chair of archaeology.
Yes.
Ted just thinks he's trying to sell him a chair.
Yeah. So.
But there's a very good speech from Jeffrey about how these people are my friends and what they're doing is very important.
Yes, because they bring joy to people's life. For that week that they're at the holiday camp, they can forget all their troubles and their cares. I mean, there's a scene in the pilot episode. And this sounds really silly, but it always makes me a little bit teary, where there's an old couple and they meet them on the train going down to Crimpton-on-Sea, which is where the camp is set. And they're staying in a guest house, and then their landlady breaks her leg, and they go for their second week of holiday. They go and stay at the camp, and they go and see him, and he's thinking of leaving Jeffrey because he thinks he's not very good at this. And they say to him, you've cheered us up, and we've not had a great life, but you've cheered us up, and you've made us forget our troubles, and give him that £0.50 or something.
give him a tip, and he just doesn't know what to do.
He doesn't know what to do with it. And then Yeah, and it makes him think, well, actually, no, what I'm doing is worthwhile.
And I would say that to anybody that does anything creative, anybody that writes or does anything like that. And sometimes I think people in that field sort of think what they're doing isn't important.
But it is.
And it really is.
Art is important.
Yes, absolutely.
It brings joy into people's lives.
Yeah, and I think that's something that's underestimated, actually.
It's underestimated and underfunded, and we're going off topic.
No, but it's a point I want to make, because anybody creative is doing something damn important. Yes. And you should be proud of yourself if you're doing it.
And carry on doing it.
Yes. So that's to everybody out there that writes or podcasts or anything.
Anything. Yeah.
Anyway,
but we haven't talked about all the characters, have we?
We oh no, I mean this is going to be a big article. This is because there's a lot of ground to
So we said about cover. We've said about Jeffrey and Gladys and Ted.
Do you want to say any more about Gladys or Ted, or because Gladys is you did the impression.
I did the impression. I'd like to apologise for my accent.
Yes.
It's not very good.
Gladys does all the Radio Maplin stuff.
Yes, she's the Radio Maplin announcer.
And you've got a Radio Maplin's bag, haven't you?
I have.
Thanks to Clayton Hickman.
Thank you, Clayton. Yes. Yes. Anybody that likes cult stuff, go to Redbubble.
For Clayton's account.
Search for Clayton Hickman, and you will be amazed and spend lots of money.
You certainly did.
Yes, I did. I've had to stop.
You've got cushions and bags and everything.
Bags and postcards and Christmas cards and everything. But Gladys she's one of the more important characters, because in a way it centres around her and Jeffrey, that relationship, and then later on her and Clive.
Because she's one of the main people that's in the series all the way through. Yeah. And there aren't actually that many people when you think about it who's in it.
More than a lot of series.
Well, there's her, there's
Ted, Spike's
in it all the way through.
Fred.
And Yvonne,
and
Peggy.
And Sylvia.
Is Sylvia's in it?
Sylvia's in it all the way through,
Okay.
Yeah, so there is a few.
Yeah.
And the twins. The twins are in it all the way through.
Okay, all right, more than I thought, actually. Okay, fine.
But, so you've also got Spike Dixon.
Yes.
Who is the camp comic. And this is his first time at it. Before this, he worked in the tax office.
Oh, that's right, yes. So he gets chucked in the pool an
awful lot. And Jeffrey Holland is a star, because
hello to Jeffrey Holland.
Yes, hello Jeffrey. It was October, and it was freezing. Yes. And he got chucked in the pool with
because he gets all the silly costumes.
He does
in the same way that John Inman would get all the silly costumes.
All the costumes in Are You Being Served?
Yeah,
Jeffrey Holland gets the costumes. He doesn't get the same reaction though.
No, but I mean, he gets like funny policeman and funny caveman.
Funny caveman.
And then you get some really strange ones.
There's one where he seems to be dressed as Bertie Bassett.
Yeah.
Like a licorice allsort kind of, like the Candyman.
Several years before the Candyman in Doctor Who.
And one where he's dressed as a butterfly and he looks like a Monoptera.
But it's really sort of limp, isn't it?
It's limp because he's been out in the rain. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, one of the other characters we should mention as well is Mr. Partridge.
Oh, I love Mr. Partridge.
He's the Punch and Judy man. Yeah. But he hates children.
In the same way that Mr. Granger is my favourite character in Are You Being Served, because he's so grumpy and bad at dealing with customers. Mr. Partridge is by far my favourite. Well, it's Mr. Partridge and Geoffrey Fairbrother. Yes. They're my two joint.
Right, okay. Mr. Partridge is quite a nasty person.
He is nasty, and he hates children.
He hates children. He hates everybody, but he really hates children.
And again, he is so bad at being a children's entertainer.
Yes.
I love the episode where you get the shot of his Punch and Judy booth.
Yeah.
And you see Punch and you see Judy, and there's a pint of beer.
Yeah.
And occasionally a hand will come up to drink the beer. I can't get in, and he tries to get his hand up, Judy. I can't get my hand up, you stupid cow. Yeah. You know. But yeah, was it because he gets the introduction that he's got to say I'm I love you all, children. Yeah. And as he's about to come on to say this announcement is, get out of the way.
Yeah, he pushes the kid out of the way. Yeah.
And yes, that would be me, frankly. I must admit that if I was in that role.
Yeah. You also get Fred Quilly, who's the riding instructor.
You're all very fond of him,
I'm really fond of Fred Quilly. Yes, yes. I think he's one of my favourite characters. because he starts off quite a coarse character, and the character mellows.
Yeah.
And he really loves his horses.
Yeah.
There's one episode, and I can't remember which one it is, where one of his horses is ill, and he hasn't got the money to get the vet in. But Ted does one of his fiddlers, and they shame Ted into giving the money to Fred so he can get the vet in to cure his horse. And I'm not ashamed to admit that made me cry.
Is it Empty Saddles?
No, that's
a different one, but that's another one.
Yes, and yeah, as much as he moans about his horses, he absolutely adores them. And he looks after them to the best of his ability. And there's also the amazing thing of in the end titles, you get a shot of it's a classic Perry and Croft thing that you get the shot of all the characters. You have been watching with the name of the actor, and when it gets to Felix Bowness, who plays,
he's always moaning.
He's always mouthing something to the camera.
He's waving his finger at the camera.
I just wish I could lip read to see what he's actually
somebody
saying.
on YouTube has done an edit of the end titles, which just entirely consists
of him of
his rants about something.
And he was the warm-up man for it as well.
Yes, that's
he was the warm-up man because he was a warm-up man, and he was the warm-up man for Heidi High. And they wrote the part with him in mind, knowing he liked horse racing.
Yes.
So.
But who else have we got?
We've also got Peggy Olenshaw.
Yes.
She's a chalet maid.
Yes. That potty chalet maid she's referred to.
Yes. She gets called Potty a lot.
Yeah.
And she wants to be a yellow coat.
But that's her ambition by far, isn't it?
But she's not pretty enough, which sounds awful.
I know,
but that's the basic thing of it, because it's another one of these things that girls that wear glasses don't get made passes at, and she wears glasses. Because there's a bit in, I think it's one of the episodes we're going to talk about in a bit, and they write a masked ball, and she's got the mask on with her glasses on top, which would be me, because she can't see anything without them.
And me.
And she takes the glasses off and the mask off, and the person she's dancing with goes, "Oh, I've got to go to the toilet," and disappears, never to be seen again. And it gets a huge R for the audience.
There's a number of scenes where she gets an R, isn't there?
She's played by Sue Pollard, and as much as Sue Pollard comes across in real life as a zany, madcap, eccentric person, she's a very good actress, and she can do that stuff.
Because it's the one
really
we saw the other day. Well, today actually, where she's dressed up as a shark.
Yes. Yeah.
And she's in the pool.
Yeah. And then she nearly drowned.
And she gets this speech about how she'll keep on trying to be yellow coat. And somebody starts to clap too early, doesn't she?
Yeah, just slightly too early. Yeah.
You've got Yvonne and Barry Stewart Hargreaves.
Who are the dancers.
Yes.
And they're played by Barry Howard and Diane Holland. Mm-hmm. And apparently David Croft gave Barry Howard the part, partly because obviously he thought he'd be good, but partly because he was John Inman's partner in the theatre.
Right. And
he'd taken John Inman away to do Are You Being Served? And he felt guilty, so he gave him the job on Heidi High.
All right. Because Barry leaves at the end of Series 7,
yes.
And she gets a new partner.
Yes. Julian Dalrymple Sykes.
Yes, which
who
is a great name.
In one episode, I think it's end of episode 5.
Yeah.
Barry hurts his back and she gets him in to be her daughter's partner. Yeah. And he's played by Ben Harris, and he's terribly good. He's a pig farmer, and he keeps trying to persuade her to come and live on the pig farm, and she can't because of the dirt and the smells. But yeah. It's a great...
Oh, Uncle Sammy.
And Uncle Sammy,
you say about
Uncle Sammy's in series 7
onwards.
Yeah. Well, series 7, 8 and 9, really.
Yeah.
Because he's only in one episode of series 7. And he's the new children's entertainer, because unfortunately, Leslie Dwyer, who played Mr. Partridge, dies towards the end of series 5.
It is actually noticeable when you watch the episodes, because there comes a point when Leslie Dwyer only appears on film.
Yes, because they'd pre-filmed it, and then he'd become too ill to do the studios
stuff. Yeah.
So so they do work a way of getting the character out of the series, which we will talk about shortly.
Yeah.
But they bring in Kenneth Connor for series 8 and 9. And I think it was Jeffrey Holland's idea. He really campaigned hard for Kenneth Connor to be in it. But then David Croft already knew Kenneth Connor because he was in Hello, Hello.
Yeah.
I think he was in Hello, Hello at the same time that it crossed with So he worked for David Croft quite a lot.
Yeah.
And he's not a very nice character either. He's a tramp, and in the series 8,
he's really quite.
He's quite dirty, and
he's quite grotty.
Yes,
but then they clean him up later, don't they?
He keeps nicking stuff from the bins, but they're cleaning up for the next series because I think they decided that people just wouldn't associate with him because he was too dirty and smelly and horrible. So they clean him up. They put the idea in that he's after somebody in the fish bar, and so they tidy him up and he wears a yellow coat. But I really like the character. I think he works really well. He's not as grumpy as Mr. Partridge.
I mean, it's Kenneth Connor, so
yes, you expect it to work well.
Yeah. I mean, there's two characters often talked about but not seen. There's Miss Cathcart.
Miss Cathcart, who's Peggy's supervisor.
Yeah, as it says in Wikipedia, Peggy's supervisor and nemesis.
I'm not sure she's her nemesis.
Whether she's a silver nemesis, I don't know. But Joe Maplin, we have to talk about.
We do have to talk about Joe Maplin.
Yeah. Joe Maplin, you keep getting an image of him, and there is actually an episode, The Graven Image,
where you get a statue.
Where you get a statue, isn't it?
And you see the back of his head.
Yeah.
In one episode.
Okay. But he's never actually seen.
No.
Now we thought it was worth asking the question: if you were producing Heidi High,
who would you cast?
Yeah. And we put that question out on Twitter and Facebook, and
we've
got over 50 replies.
Yeah, it's quite ridiculous.
So thank you to everybody that
contributed,
that replied. We cannot name you all by name because we'd be here forever.
Nobody actually came up with because David Croft had somebody in mind.
Yes.
And now, nobody came up with that person.
On the internet, if you look up Joe Maplin, the suggestion is Bob Monkhouse.
Yes.
But we're still trying to work out where that
came from.
Because we've looked in Bob's books and there's no reference to that. Right. So if anybody knows the original source of the Bob Monkhouse story, but we've got a book, Heidi High Companion, by Rob Cope and Mike Fury, which gives you David Croft's suggestion for who Joe Maplin should be. But let's just run through a few of the names that you've been supplied with from our lovely followers and listeners.
Where to start, really. So.
Well, it goes from like Christopher Biggins to Peter Vaughan, doesn't it?
Peter Vaughan, yeah.
And some people have gone for like sort of sinister people. Yeah. Some people have gone for like sort of Cockney rough diamonds, haven't they? Yeah. And some people have just gone for sort of comedy people.
Yes.
So let's just pick a few names.
Well, we got Wilfred Pickles. I don't think I've ever seen anything with Wilfred Pickles in, so I can't comment on that one.
Yeah. But we can't list everything because again it's over 50 names, isn't it?
Jimmy Jewell.
Jimmy Jewell's interesting, possible. Yeah.
Arthur Lowe, who could do the pompous thing.
Yeah.
But I think he's not the right person.
No.
Because I imagine now different people have different images.
Yeah.
The enigmatic Higgins thinks that Joe Maplin comes from the north.
Right.
I think he's a Cockney.
Right.
Because of the way the letters
East End
read.
boy, is he?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because when he reads the letters...
you better explain about the letters.
He sends letters to Geoffrey...
To read out exactly...
And you have to read them exactly how they're written.
Yeah.
And apparently this was based on... I can't remember if it was David... I think it was David Croft's daughter's boss, who wrote really bad letters that had to be read out exactly as they were written.
Because the classic one is, what is it? Neptune's and octopuses his old hat. And Geoffrey has to say, he means octopi.
Yes.
That's the plural, you see.
Yeah. But apparently you can call them octopuses now, they've decided.
Well, whatever.
But he writes an autobiography. And the title of the autobiography is How I Done It.
Yeah.
And that doesn't sound very northern to me. It sounds more London.
Because
I'm from Essex.
You're from Essex.
I'm used to that sort of kind of accent. But some of the other suggestions. Max Bygraves.
That's interesting.
Max Bygraves is interesting. Albert Finney. I think that's a little out of their league.
Now, Arthur English I saw was on the list.
Yes.
Arthur English works for me because he's got the Cockney thing and he's part of
the ensemble.
The Perry and Croft sort of ensemble, isn't it?
The Croft.
Well, yeah, okay.
Croft ensemble, yeah.
That's true.
But
that's Lloyd and Croft, isn't it? Because I think so, yes.
But you've also got something like Stratford Johns.
Okay.
I'm not sure I can imagine Stratford Johns, but maybe if he did it with a lot of pomposity, then And Arthur Mullard.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
That's my Arthur Mullard impression.
But we've also got like Dean Gaffney. I think that's for now.
Oh, right, okay.
I'm not quite sure about Dean Gaffney.
Okay.
He's in EastEnders in case you
I don't know.
Warren Clarke.
Yeah.
Warren Mitchell.
Yeah.
Paul Merton. That's not somebody knocking to come in. There's somebody putting a nail in somewhere.
Somebody's banging nails in next door. We do apologise.
Ray Winston. Again for now, I think.
Okay, and more sinister.
Yeah. Sid James.
Maybe.
Yeah. John Pertwee. Not sure about that.
Okay, no.
Somebody suggested Lou Grade.
Okay.
I'm
Lou
not
Grade
quite
wasn't
sure.
an actor, was he?
No.
Okay.
No.
Just Lou Grade as himself.
Lou Grade as himself. And then you've got sort of like David Ryle, George Baker, Dick Emery, Peter Miles, Harry Taub. Not sure what accent he'd do. Yes. Joss Ackland, Reg Farney, Brian Shaw. I'm not sure who said that.
Yeah.
And, you know, the list is quite ridiculous.
Roy Hudd,
Roy Hudd.
Roy Hudd's not bad.
Roy Hudd's not bad. He could do the sleazy thing as well.
Let me finally, let me reveal all.
Tell you who.
Okay, I need
David
to find...
Croft. Well, I can tell you without you looking at it.
Well, yeah, but I need to find the exact quote. Here we go. So this is David Croft's quote from the Hi-de-Hi Companion. Right. Joe is in fact an amalgam of various people. He was largely based on a bloke my daughter was working for at the time, in that he used to dictate wonderful ungrammatical letters. I borrowed that feature from him. If Joe had ever appeared, I think it would have been played by Charlie Drake. A little man, very down to earth, not well educated, but a dynamo. Charlie Drake never knew this. What do you think of that, Lisa?
I'm going to hold my hands up and say I am hamstrung by the fact that I cannot stand Charlie Drake.
Oh dear,
So that for me, it would have been an interesting idea, but I've never seen Charlie Drake do anything where he wasn't playing himself.
Yeah.
And just coming on and going, hello, my darlings, and getting a huge not standing ovation, but a huge round of applause. So maybe if I'd seen Charlie Drake in something, playing something other than himself, I might agree. But even in The Worker, he's just playing a basic version of himself.
I have to say, if it was Charlie Drake, that graven image is about a foot too tall, isn't it?
But there is a line in the graven image that he's made himself look like Churchill.
Okay.
So he's made himself look more imposing.
Right. Well, anyway, shall we move on to our featured episodes?
Let's move on to our featured episodes, which come from series...
Where are we?
7.
Series 7?
Yes.
And they're somewhat unusual, aren't they?
They are. It's because how do you write out a regular character?
Yeah.
When you can't have that character on scene and have a leaving scene.
Yeah, so these are episodes 41 and 42. So amazingly, it's a 2-part story.
It is.
It's
got a cliffhanger.
Which impressed me from the start.
Yeah.
So episode 41, 5th of January 1986, It's Murder.
That sort of gives away the plot a bit, really.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
But tell me what happens.
Well, Mr. Partridge goes too far.
Yes.
And he gets drunk and he thumps a lot of kids.
Yeah.
And all the parents are after him.
Yeah.
He goes into hiding.
Yeah.
And the staff can't find him.
Mm-hmm.
Though there is an off-screen scene with him and Fred Quilly.
Yeah.
When they come out of the ballroom at midnight, well, after midnight, after Goodnight Campers, because they have Goodnight Campers every night, they walk round the pool.
Yeah.
And there's a body in the pool.
Face down.
Dressed in Mr. Partridge's clothing, with a knife in his back.
Yeah, and I went, what? Because I'd read the synopsis of this, and I'd not seen this episode, and I thought, no, they're not really going to do this, are they? and they do. Well, apparently they do anyway, because, as you say, it does end on a cliffhanger, which is highly unusual for Perry and Croft stuff in the first place.
And for comedy.
And for comedy generally.
Yeah.
You then get episode 42.
Yeah.
Who Killed Mr. Partridge?
Yes. So basically, Ted gets Peggy to rouse all the entertainment staff.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, he phones Joe Maplin. Joe Maplin tells him not to do anything because he wants to speak to his solicitor.
Yeah.
The entertainment staff get there and they say they should call the police. But they don't. Ooh. They wait to see what Joe Maplin's got to say. And they wait, and they wait, and they have to try and keep the fact that there's a dead body in the pool quiet. So they go to turn the lights off on the pool and fuse the whole camp, turn all the lights off. Then a camper, played by Robin Parkinson, sees the body, and they have to bundle him off and hide him in Radio Maplin.
Because it just suddenly gets
yeah,
really
it's
dark.
really dark, and it's shot really like a sort of whodunit.
Yeah.
Lots of music and close-ups
you get
of people.
You get the dun 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 music several times,
So,
don't you?
and then the police turn up.
Yeah.
And they've contacted Joe Maplin, and Joe Maplin says he knows nothing about this, and he hasn't spoken to anybody. At this point,
they're in hot water at this point, aren't they?
Yeah. And at this point, they get the body out of the pool, only to discover it's a dummy. And
I love the way when they bring it out of the pool, you can see its arms swinging.
Yeah.
It's really, really limp, isn't it?
Limp. And it's basically all been set up by Mr. Partridge, who has gone to live with a pub landlady somewhere, and he's done this in revenge.
Yeah. But yeah, as a sort of two-part story, it really impressed me in that it went in a direction and an atmosphere that I really wasn't expecting of this series. Because, I'd say of my favourite Perry and Croft series is probably Dad's Army.
Yeah.
And I've always felt that Heidi High never quite reached those heights necessarily.
But there's a lot of stuff that doesn't reach those heights.
Yeah, but then, to be fair, very few shows do.
Yeah.
But having now watched it in order with you, it really has gone up the charts a bit for me. It was a lot better than I thought it was going to be, just generally. And these two episodes in particular really, really impressed me. The way
amazing.
they... Because, as you say, they were essentially faced with a problem.
Yeah.
And that problem seems to have inspired them to produce something really quite unusual.
Yeah.
And in fact, as I said to you, I think with that second episode, I might even have pushed it a bit further. Because it's a very, very strong idea. And just make the direction even a bit more sort of dramatic, shall we say. I mean, you don't want to go too far with it, but it's very, very good stuff, actually. And it's really funny that I've just looked at the episode list, and the episode that follows it is Spaghetti Galore.
Yes,
which is real Vicar of Dibley, isn't it? Because Gladys keeps having to eat spaghetti, doesn't she? She goes for about... Is it 3 or 4
meals
at the same Trattoria, Tony's Trattoria?
And you have to pretend to, how are you every time? Because you've got to pretend that you've not seen it before.
Yeah.
But the thing about Heidi High is if you watch one episode at random and you've not seen it before, you don't get the full benefit.
No.
Because you get the benefit of watching it from the start in order to the end.
Yeah.
Because you get the build on the characters, what they're like, and...
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. There is definite progression of character, isn't it, that you can easily miss if you don't do it in the right order. No. And that's certainly true of a lot of series. Yes. But for me, Heidi High especially sort of started to flag that up a bit. So, I mean, I have been very impressed, actually, with doing it in order. And
it's, I mean, there's another episode I'm very fond of, which is from series 4, which is Eruptions.
Yes, Eruptions. That's the Christmas special, 26th of December 1982.
Yeah. And they get a mechanical exhibit in the ballroom, and it causes chaos.
It's a sort of volcano.
It's a volcano, and it rains.
What's it called?
It's called the Mighty Mountain of Pittsburgh.
Which is these like heads come up.
Yeah, like the stone heads on Easter Island, and it comes up and it says that everybody sinned, and then the volcano
thunder
erupts,
and lightning and all this.
And it really annoys Ted because he's trying to do his act and sing, and it distracts from him. Yeah. So they decide to put it out of order, and there's a whole sequence where.
Was it the ladder or what?
They climb to onto the top of the Hawaiian ballroom to let themselves through a trapdoor because you can't go through the doors because they're alarmed. So it's Ted, Spike, Fred, and Peggy with Yvonne and Barry looking after the ladder.
With the ladder.
Now, one thing is, it's not night time. They filmed it in the day.
Yes, it is day for night filming. Yeah, I'll give you that.
Yeah. There's also another bit where Mr. Partridge has got into trouble again.
Yeah.
So to try and get himself out of trouble, he goes to wake Jeffrey and tells them that they're going to do something, and he shows them a way to get into the Hawaiian ballroom through the three little pigs' cottage.
Bears.
Bears, yeah.
Mummy bear,
Cottage.
Daddy bear, and baby bear.
Yeah. Sorry. And then they get locked in the cottage by the security men. Jeffrey and Gladys.
Gladys get locked in.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they have to spend the whole night in the cottage.
Yeah.
Ted, Spike, and Peggy and Fred spend the night on the roof of the Hawaiian ballroom in the rain because the ladder. They annoy Yvonne and Barry, and they go away without putting the ladder back up. So, and it's a really great ensemble piece. Everybody gets something to do.
Yeah.
I mean, the only characters that don't get a lot to do in a lot of these things are the other yellowcoats, which is like Sylvia. They're just there for dressing, really.
Yeah.
But they get a bit more to do. They get a bit more. Sylvia certainly gets a bit more to do when Clive comes along, because he's a bit of a ladies' man, and he's always sort of, chatting up the girls when he should actually be working.
Because she gets to ride in his car
She
a
gets
bit,
to ride in
doesn't
his car, yeah. He's got a little MG thing. But it's a definite series where you have to watch it from the start to the finish. Excuse me. And it's a great series, and it ends on a high. Well, it not for the character, not for the situation. But it does in a
last
way.
episode is quite sort of bittersweet, isn't it?
Yes.
That, there's what was it? The Wind of Change, because Maplin's at the end,
which was an ideal title.
Yes,
because it was filmed just after the Great Storm of 1987.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Yes. So there are some shots they couldn't do because where there were trees there before, there were no trees there. So they had to, they couldn't film the day after because of the situation. So I think they filmed on the Saturday, and they had to choose their shots very carefully because things that were there were no longer there.
Yeah, but that final shot of the last episode is lovely, isn't it?
Because Peggy finally gets her wish, and becomes a yellow coat because one of the yellow coats is taken ill, and she exhausts herself and ends up in hospital. And then when she comes back to be a yellow coat again, it's the end of the season, and they get a letter from Joe Maplin saying that next year there will be no yellow coats. There will be no entertainment.
Because they're going
up market. They're going self-catering. Basically because it's cheaper as well, because they don't have to provide the food. And they all lose their jobs. But Peggy's got to be a yellow coat. So,
and the camera sort of pulls back and pulls back and puts one of those lovely high shots. And there's Peggy in the distance, and she jumps up, shouts "Heidi high,"
and it freezes.
And you get a freeze frame, and there she is on a high, and that's the end of the series. And that's a lovely,
really
well
lovely
chosen
shot.
Yes.
I should just say, I haven't mentioned it, that it was all filmed at the Warner camp, the Warner's camp in Dovercourt. Because they did want to go to the Butlins camp at Clacton-on-Sea, but they didn't agree.
But it's not there now, is it?
No, it's been knocked down.
It's houses. It's housing, so you can't actually go and visit it.
It was,
unless you want to stand in somebody's garden.
Even at this point, it was sort of because it had not been looked after very well, which is obvious on screen, which is another reason they went there. And when they did the pilot, they stayed in the chalets and were freezing because obviously they had no heating.
I quite like some of the final shots you get with Ted and Spike just fishing. And then the camera will pull back, and they're very nice.
It's really nicely shot, actually.
I mean, the film work is very good, actually.
It is. And if you've never seen it, do yourself a favour, watch a few episodes, but watch them in order.
Absolutely.
To get the progression of the characters. Because by the end of it, as much as you dislike some of the characters, I mean, there's an episode in when Gladys' Wedding Bells, episode 57, where Gladys and Clive get married. And Yvonne does a really horrible thing of phoning up his family to try and try and get them down to stop it, but they foil it, and they do get married, and then they burst into the wedding, and it's a different wedding. And in that episode, you get another Perry and Croft duo. You get the vicar from Dad's Army, and Private Sponge,
Colin Bean,
who's the verger. in it. He plays the verger in this episode. So yeah, it's really nice that it ends happily for Clive and Gladys. So yeah, it's a great series. You should watch it.
Okay, well, thank you, Lisa. That's I've learned a thing or two there. Okay. So all we can say is Heidi hi.
Howdy ho.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning. Yes, thank you. Yes, I've called this meeting as I've received another letter from Joe Podcast this morning. I don't know about you, but I really do enjoy reading these letters as Joe writes as he thinks, and they really are sincere. Get this into your thick heads. That's the letter. It's not me. You've got to pull your socks up about your archive fun. Last week I done a listen to your last few episodes, and their archive fun were pathetic. Let's have some new gimmicks. Doctor Who's and Zcars' is old hat. He means Zcars. How's this for starters? You is all old now, so why not do things that was shown when you was birthed? Go through some old TV comics and get that BBC gnome to help you too. He means BBC Genome. That funny policeman should do On the Buses or something. That Essex girl can do what she likes, as long as she shows lots of legs. But tell that potty producer not to sing again. That were dreadful. Yes. Well, I think we get the gist of what Mr. Podcast wants, but if anyone has any ideas for archive wheezes, don't hesitate to bring them straight to me. Anyway, let's get on with the next episode, and Heidi hi.
Hody ho.
Thank you.
You have been listening to episode 19 of Round the Archives.
What starred Lisa Parker, Andrew Trowbridge, Warren Cummings, Paul Chandler and Nick Goodman.
Thanks also to I.T. Williams.
On the musical side, you have been hearing Dan Tate and Paul Chandler.
The scripts for Heidi Hi, It's Murder and Who Killed Mr. Partridge was by Jimmy Perry and David Croft.
And the producer were David Croft.
And I will now show you how you throw a pot. First of all, you need a machine and your lump of clay, and the first thing is getting it on the little disc here is crucial. It must go on with some force. Lubrication is the next thing. Must have lubrication, and what you're trying to do here is get it centralized, and the technique, get the arms and the elbows tight in on your body. Stop the damn thing. So anyway, that's stage one. And having this is a half-completed job over here, so you just got to find my little knobs to get it in. Now, this is the. I can't find the. Get in. Don't panic. Just talk amongst yourself. That's one of them in. Now the technique here, that's it, is having got it more or less in plenty of lubrication, more or less in shape. One hand goes inside. I'm going to now try and raise the pot, flat inside. The other hand, like so.